It's hard to believe that the Battle Royale conflict has only lasted but a few years. Few phenomena have shaken the gaming world to its core quite like the spread of games like PUBG and Fortnite. But what caused such conflict to come about in the first place? What inspirations did they draw from? Who are these developers and what was driving them? A simple graphic designer who would try his hand at modding only to start one of the greatest conflicts in video game history. A CEO turned ruthless tactician who would stop at nothing in his quest for supremacy, including stealing dances from rappers you've never heard of and that backpack kid from SNL. A gaming company once known for ripping off the ideas of others as their own. Afterwards, they'd be known for ripping off ideas of others as their own. And one video game that would give its all to fight the overwhelming army of rival titles. The fate of them all would rest in the hands of millions of gamers as they fought through the islands and battlefields of the genre. Join us as The Binger presents the evolution of Battle Royale games and how they've changed. Many still debate the true origins of the Battle Royale conflict. The majority hold true to the idea that it just began a few years ago. Others believe it's just an inevitability that has been building for decades. Video game historians have recovered a lost versus mode to an ancient game from a bygone era, 1993. The game, Super Bomberman, featured a versus mode simply titled Battle Mode. Here, 4 players were placed in a small map. They then had to compete for items while laying bombs as traps for their opponents. This archaic game from the pre-millennium age was featured on a console referred to as the Super Nintendo. For many, this is proof that the Battle Royale conflict predates the current conflict by over a decade. Other historians point to the various titles from this forgotten era as proof of the Battle Royale's growing influence. The successor to the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, featured a famous versus mode of its own. The game GoldenEye 007 was at one time thought to just be a tie-in to the movie of the same title starring James Bond. This is not to be confused by the awesome Daniel Craig James Bond of our time. Evidently, this culture had their own James Bond who looked strangely like the villain from Mrs. Doubtfire. The GoldenEye video game featured the same plot and characters from the film, but had one extra feature. The versus mode in the game saw up to 4 players scouring a map for weapons on a time limit. Its success is said to have furthered the popularity of the first-person shooter genre, the genre that has led to the Battle Royale as we know it. Many historians also point to games such as Twisted Metal and Halo as precursors to Battle Royale as well. Though to truly understand the conflict as we know it, we must first journey to ancient Japan, 1999, and a book that would change everything. In April of 1999, a former journalist, Kaushan Takami, published a hard-hitting novel about totalitarianism, Battle Royale. It featured a group of high school students who were stranded on an island by a hostile government. They were to remain until only one student was left alive. The book was highly controversial for its graphic violence and political commentary. It was then adapted into 2 films and a manga series. From there, it seemed designed to fall into obscurity. That is, until an American novelist would debut their own book with a very similar concept. Novelist Suzanne Collins released a book called The Hunger Games in 2008. It also featured a group of teenagers who were stranded on an island by a hostile government. They were also to remain until only one survivor was left alive. This book and its sequels were adopted into 4 highly successful films. This retroactively shined more light on Battle Royale as many claimed it better than its American counterpart. Regardless, both stories made impassioned pleas against violence as entertainment. They, like Lord of the Flies before them, had strong themes of how violence and conflict destroy the innocence of childhood. Children then flocked to any game that simulated the experience because of how entertaining it looked, thus conclusively proving that children don't understand irony. Minecraft was a simple game for a simpler time. It was a place where creative casual gamers could come to build highly intricate constructs. The dedicated crafters created full-scale replicas of famous fictional cities and intricate works of art. For the most part, Minecraft was a peaceful place for casual fun. Only all of that would change with one fateful mod. On June 9th, 2012, the Minecraft Hunger Games mod launched. Based on Collinson's work, it had several players battling on a map of hidden weapons until only one remained. It went from a small server to a full-blown sensation. No one could have ever predicted that the simple mod would be the spark that would ignite a gaming revolution. Brendan Greene was the Irish-born graphic designer living in Brazil in the year of 2013. Inspired by the Minecraft Hunger Games and Takami's Battle Royale, Greene decided to start work on a mod of his own. Bored by the repetition of most modern shooters, he sought out to create a more visceral experience. He would incorporate a larger map with randomized elements to make the experience more unique. The zombie mod for the game Arma 2, called DayZ, was the first testing ground for this idea. DayZ Battle Royale was a wild success. Greene, under his moniker PlayerUnknown, would go on to become a gaming legend. He was then hired by Sony Online Entertainment to add a Battle Royale mode to their own game, H1Z1. The mode, called King of the Kill, was another resounding success for Greene. It was clear now that Greene had become the founding father of a brand new gaming genre. His success would inspire dozens of new Battle Royale games that followed his formula. Greene's work was not yet done, however. It was time for him to create a game of his own. On March of 2017, the first beta for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds dropped on Steam. The first bullet fired would start one of the fiercest conflicts in video game history. PUBG featured 100 players parachuting onto a sparse map. They would rush through abandoned buildings and ghost towns trying to find weapons and items. Then they would battle until there was one left standing. It was the pinnacle of Greene's Battle Royale concept. When the full game released on December 20th, it became a massive success. The battle slowly spread from PC to Xbox One to PS4 and even on mobile devices. It raged through America, China, Japan, India, and all over the world. The Battle Royale genre was no longer a niche concept, but a marketable sensation. Greene had succeeded in his goal to revolutionize the shooter genre at last. His success was soon to be challenged, however. A new game was on the horizon, one that aimed to battle PUBG for supremacy of the Battle Royale genre forever. Maryland-born Tim Sweeney made a name for himself building the studio Epic Games, which was responsible for Unreal Tournament, Gears of War, and Infinity Blade. All were well known, but none matched the success of massive franchises like Call of Duty or Halo. Soon, Tim Sweeney and Epic would come to know that kind of triumph. In 2017, Epic released its answer to PUBG in the form of Fortnite. The game featured all of the best qualities of its predecessors. It incorporated the building aspect of Minecraft, the zombie survival of DayZ, and the winning formula behind PUBG's take on Battle Royale. Beyond that, it had a unique art style that was all its own. It ditched the gritty survivalist aesthetic for a wilder, cartoonish one. Players leapt from a party bus, not a helicopter, into the field. And thus, the conflict for domination of the genre began. It was one of the most bitter rivalries in the history of gaming. Millions of virtual players lost their lives across servers all around the world. Friendships were made, enemies were fought, and hundreds of thousands of homework assignments were forgotten. At the end, when the dust settled, it was clear that one game was supreme: Fortnite. It not only attracted more players than PUBG, but also became synonymous with the genre itself. Fortnite was more than just another Battle Royale game, it was the Battle Royale game. PUBG was now relegated to a footnote on the history books of the genre it helped write the first pages of. Tim Sweeney and the team at Epic Games had won the battle, but the conflict was far from over. Many Battle Royale games have risen up to challenge the likes of PUBG and Fortnite. While some briefly seemed as though they might hold a candle to the two legends, that hope was always dashed away. Realm Royale was released in June of 2018. It put a new spin on the genre by setting it in a fantasy world with sword and sorcery elements. In its early days, it seemed like it might take on Fortnite for Battle Royale supremacy. By September of that year, however, it had lost 98% of its players. It has regained much of its former glory since, but its days of challenging the top contenders are over. The Culling was one of the earliest Battle Royale games. It was released in 2017 to some acclaim. The game was quickly overshadowed by the two heavy hitters, but that didn't dissuade the developers a bit. The Culling 2 was released in July of 2018. It was met with apathy from the gaming community at large. Now it is considered a dead game. One of the most referenced casualties in a long line of failed projects. Other games like The Darwin Project, Islands of Nine, and The Ring of Elysium have tried to make a name for themselves. None managed to truly challenge Fortnite. It seemed as though no Battle Royale game could compete with Fortnite. That is until the king of the shooter genre joined the conflict. The massive video game company ACTIVISION has shown itself to be one of the biggest names in gaming for decades. It's built many legendary franchises over the years, but none as notable as Call of Duty. COD has long been the king of the first-person shooter genre. It is a machine that has been creating critically and commercially successful games since 2003. It was inevitable that the mega franchise would throw in its hat to the Battle Royale conflict. Its contender, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Blackout, was a well-oiled machine like the other games in the series. It was much more realistic, akin to PUBG, instead of the sillier style of Fortnite. Millions of COD fans flocked to the new game. The fight for Battle Royale supremacy was on again. At the end of the year, Fortnite was still victorious, but PUBG's best days were further behind it. Blackout lost the battle for supremacy, but succeeded in outdoing what once was the pinnacle of the genre. The Call of Duty title outdid PUBG on almost every level. It was smoother, faster, and had a built-in fan base. Activision failed to supplant the king, but succeeded in conquering another. 2018 saw another contender for the Battle Royale crown. This one also came from an existing franchise. The Titanfall series introduced a Battle Royale spin-off called Apex Legends. The game was a huge success right out of the gate. Many claimed it was on its way to toppling Fortnite and Blackout. The game changed up the standard formula with a stronger focus on class systems. It also boasted an eye-popping sci-fi design that set it apart from the modern setting of the three major titles. Time will tell if Apex Legends has what it takes to truly take on Fortnite for all the glory. One thing is for certain, the conflict isn't over yet. 2019 seems to be just as brutal a year for the Battle Royale genre as the ones before. Many new games are on the horizon, eager to join the battle. PlanetSide Arena, Battlefield 5 Firestorm, and Mavericks are all set to drop this year. Each one is boasting to have new twists on the famous genre. Mavericks, for one, is claiming to support battles of up to 400 players. The Battle Royale conflict will clearly rage through 2019 and well into the next decade. There can be no doubt that it will rank among the first-person shooter conflicts and the battles for platformer supremacy. Its pages in the history of video game conflicts will be written by those that survive the endless lobbies of virtual bloodshed. We know that you love all your favorite content from The Binger. The only way we can continue making fun videos is support from viewers like you. We have amazing uploads like Disney's Frozen 2 theories that make so much sense, or Captain Marvel, everything to know about her past and character redesign. They're all just a click away. We know you don't like telethons, neither do we, but for only the cost of hitting like and subscribe, you can get all this content and more, right here at The Binger. Thanks for watching.